Alright, I'm here now. And then you're not here yet. It's annoying. Try again.
Check.
Now we're here. Cool.
Check it out.
So we got a first 3 minutes of us just being quiet. So we'll start that over. How you been? Have you been playing any Pokemon?
Quick recap. No, I played some at the beginning of the holiday season, and then everybody was busy, so I didn't have that social interaction. Didn't play a ton.
Yeah.
Played a little bit off and on with Brilliant, who just built the Mew Genesect deck, and then kind of fell down a Minecraft and new first-person shooter rabbit hole.
Cool. It's good to take a break though. Like, good get a different perspective on coming back to the game. Like you can see how the meta shifts, and I think we're peeling into that direction of there's going to be some serious meta shifting with how things happened in Kyoto, and then we have Portland this weekend, and seeing that, like, wow, a Roaring Moon list is doing well. Oh wow, Goldango actually had a solid showing. So it's like, okay,
I can't
cool.
believe Goldango had a good showing. That's still wild to me.
The deck is fine. It really is. It's just it it feels, I just don't know what it's missing. It feels a little better than what Garchomp did. It feels a little bit better than Blastoise, but it's like they're all just it just feels like it's just a little bit underwhelming. Like,
I don't know if this worked. Do you still hear me?
you came in way
Okay.
cleaner.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's a level of, like, it functions in those same decks where it's just missing a small piece, and that piece doesn't fully make sense just yet of, like, what is it actually missing, and I don't think anybody knows, because they could print a card and be like, this is the fix, this is the card that takes it to the top. Same thing what happened with Chen Pao. They're like, Iron Hands is going to break Chen Pao, and now Chen Pao has been, underperforming, but kind of performing in the same stature that it was before, just not at the top of the metagame.
Yeah.
So, like it kind of was before that, because people are still figuring out the list, and people have also learned how to play against it.
Slight backtracking, but I wanted to throw this out there because you were talking about playing on mobile and
Oh, that was before they knew what we were saying.
Yeah. So recapping, you were talking about playing on mobile and just the experience being.
You're choppy when you talk into that mic. Yeah. Occasionally it just comes in like. It's fine now. I don't know if that's on my end or if it's on yours, but keep going. You're good.
Well, yeah. So I was just saying, having a suboptimal experience, not because of the system itself, maybe, but because it's harder to focus in on what you're doing when you're playing on a phone.
Yeah.
And that putting you off from playing more while traveling and stuff. I think another reason that I took a break was, out of like 5 games that I played in a row, 4 of them, I think it was like 4 of them, I could not physically draw worse.
Yeah.
If it was possible.
Yeah.
Like 2 to 3 moles, and then my turn 4, I could finally get a card in the lost zone.
Yeah.
Like, man, when you're on turn 4 and you're like, awesome, I've now got 2 cards in the lost zone. You're like, I'm not playing this game.
No.
This is have fun, play solitaire. I'll catch up with you later.
That's wild.
I had a few of those where I was like, I'm not one to blame, computerized RNG very often, but this is something, man.
Dude,
Give me the option to shuffle as many times as I want before the game starts.
Dude, some of the, like, I've been feeling that. It's like some of the Pokestops that I've spun lately have just been absurd. And I'm just like, I know that is a part of the card. And there are times like, ooh, I hit 3 items, but it's like 3 items that I didn't need at all in the moment. You're just like,
yep.
Yeah, I guess it hit, but at the same time, there were the other times where it was like, double Frigibax Greninja when I spun it on turn 1, and I'm just like, what did I just witness? Like, as
Awesome.
I'm like, okay, I guess I don't want to play the game. So yeah, that's I've had that, and also I think in the last, we'll call it 10 games, I have had Battle VIP Pass in my opening hand 3 out of the 7, and I don't know if the odds are like, does that fit the amount that I should see it with 4 in the deck? But I'm just like watching all of my opponents just Battle VIP Pass, Battle VIP Pass, Battle VIP Pass, and I'm just like, cool. Every time I play against somebody, they always have it, but why don't I have it? Why can't I have that? And it's just,
when's it gonna be my turn?
Can
just
I play too? So that part of it just can sometimes be so frustrating, and I do feel in person games feel a lot more. The it doesn't feel as punishing when it's a computer that feels like it's punching you. There's
something to blame.
Yes.
There's something, like, it's not just the universe and some randomness. You're like, no, there's a thing controlling this randomness. I have something to put my hatred into.
I stand by it. I do think that there's that the game chooses before we even start drawing our cards that it's like, this person has a higher chance of winning the game than you do, and you're just like,
I'm very curious
sucks.
From like a coding perspective, like how you write a game engine.
Yeah.
Like, this is slightly out tangent, but like the thought I had was like, is there just like a stored list of like what the cards are in order sitting in your deck before you do things like a Pokestop and what have you? And does it just like reshuffle that order whenever you have to shuffle the deck and stuff? Like,
who knows?
That would be the most digital to physical interpretation of how I would code that. But like, if it's not like that, I'm sus.
Mm-hmm. For real.
Also, random tidbit on the RNG of a video game that drives me nuts. I played a game against Brilliant the other day, and I had the worst Colress experience I have had to date.
Yeah.
It was mid game, so like needed to use this Colress to hit. Had like 20 to 30 cards in the deck still. I hit 3 Mirage Gates and 2 energy. And I'm like, what do I pick here?
Yeah.
Like, I need to use the Mirage Gates to get the energy. And the energy I got were like the 2 energy I needed to get out of the deck to go put on.
Yeah,
something.
and you can't now.
I'm like, I have literally no idea what to do now. I'm like, if I pitch a Mirage Gate, I don't have a Mirage Gate to use to set up my win. But if I pitch the energy, either of them, then I can't use the Mirage Gate to get what it's like. This is awful. This is literally awful.
I'm curious like about those things of like, could it be just we are seeing the fringe cases of these situations of like really bad Pokestops, really bad Colress experiments, your luck with Pokegear, like I like to give background to the viewers. I'm pretty sure Smog's first 10 Pokegears he used, maybe one of them hit. Maybe.
1 out of 10.
It was pretty wild.
1 out of 10.
Yeah, so a pretty wild number. So I think we're seeing like the fringe cases, and it's hard to not hype on the fringe cases because they hurt the most, and it's easy to remember that. Like, and I've been talking about this with Tina and disc golf in that same regard of, I can hyper focus and hyper fixate on all the bad things that happened when I'm not recognizing that all this really good things that I also did during the round and stuff like that. So it's like trying to remember those moments too, as much as we can.
That's human nature. Like that's part of the way our brain works and evolved, what have you, is like I believe it's like a survival holdover of like, you remember the negatives because those are the things that teaches you what to avoid.
Yeah.
So it stands out in your brain a lot more prevalently than when positive things happen. So your brain's going to fixate on those and like automatically, not even you as a person, but like just in general, you like humans tend to remember the negatives. So they stand out more. They hold out longer in your brain.
Yeah.
So, you might for a day remember that awesome turn you had where, the stars aligned and you got from 0 to hero in one turn and took all 6 prizes or something. And you'll tell me about that the next day. But the whiff into whiff into whiff that you had 6 months ago, that'll live with you forever.
Oh,
You'll be telling that story to your grandkids, and it's like
burnt in there.
Brian, why? Like,
yeah,
just
let go.
Let me remember the cool stuff.
Yeah,
just
let go. Yeah, I'm hopeful that that this can just be a lesson to learn, and all of us that play Pokemon and can just get better at looking at those moments, because it's just better. And as much as it is easy to complain, and it is easy to blame, complain and blame. It's like at the same time, there's always a way that we can sequence better. There's always a way that we could have maybe done things differently. I played a game where I had Iron Hands in hand and I didn't bench it, and I got blown out by a switch into an escape rope into this, and I was just like, oh well, if I would have benched the hands when they played escape rope, that would have actually allowed me to play the game. Because I would have, because they're not taking a prize. I get to protect a Frigibax and a Bidoof, and I still have Greninja to play the game. And it's like, oh, had I done this differently, I could have had a better option. It's like, so in that moment, I was like frustrated that I was like, oh, of course they have it. And then, but at the same time, I was like, no, like, look at your hand, look at what you could have done. This could have impacted the game. Maybe would have still lost or whatever, but at the same time, I would have been in a much better position to play the game. And I think that that's something that I want to kind of force ourselves to look at, is be as a term that I've used, be more analytical, not critical, so you can analyze what was done and how to fix it and ways to improve. And that's it's man, okay, we're going to talk life a little bit before we get into it. It's something that I've taken away from Pokemon, and I had this conversation with some friends recently, is that if the best thing I can do in Pokemon, and playing a game of Pokemon, is play my cards, give myself a chance. That's all I can do. If I continue to allow for there to be opportunities for me to win the game, there's a chance I win the game. Even if the odds are low, I still have a chance. It is not zero, and I think that's something special. And so I want to take that aspect and put that into my everyday life. Is that if whether I'm playing disc golf or work opportunities or whatever, as long as I'm out there giving myself a chance to be successful, I can find success. Even if the odds are low, we've seen the variance of terrible Pokestops. Why can't we see the variance of the best Pokestops and the best Colress experiments and the best X, Y, and Z and the best job opportunities and throws of our lives or whatever,
I would even go one step past that and say, if you are actively working to put yourself in a position for opportunity to knock in general in life, you are succeeding.
Totally.
Like that is success. It's stuff like I have both in Pokemon and in real life, like in general in life, lived by the adage of like things will work out, which drives my wife nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I do have that general positive attitude that like things will work out. It might take time, but I think if I delve slightly deeper into that, it's less of just things will work out regardless of what I do. It's things will work out because I'm continuing to try to put myself in a position for them to work out.
Totally.
And that's exactly how I play Pokemon, and I think why I don't get overly frustrated playing. Like there'll be the off stretch where you have like over 5 really bad games that you just don't feel like you even got to play.
Yeah.
Like maybe one of them you make a mistake, and like the next one you just lose because RNG and etc. And like when you have a slew of bad luck in any scenario in life, it feels bad. There's not, when you feel like you couldn't have done anything different, or the things you could have done different are very small. But as long as I'm continuing to do my best and put myself in the best possible position for things to work out, whether it's making sure I swapped the correct energy back into the deck with a Super Rod before I go into a Mirage Gate or whatever, then yeah, like I feel like I'm succeeding in life in general. It will work out if it's gonna work out eventually.
Totally. Well, like, take for instance, I lost 4 games in a row this morning, and one was against Snorlax, one was against like a turn 1 donk against Iron Valiant, and I was just like, what is happening? A Regidrago matchup where I was 50% through my deck and had yet to see a rare candy. Oh. And none of them were prized. So I'm just like, and I think I saw one Irida, which I needed to use I used turn 1 to get set up to set up the draw support. So it was like, okay, cool, we're doing it, but we just didn't see anything, and I was just like, that sucks. And I had the backs in hand, and I was gonna actually be able to play the game. So that happened. Whatever, right? I'm talking about the negatives, but at the same time, I play against a Roaring Moon to wrap up right before we started streaming, where I was down 6 prizes to 3.
Yeah.
6-3. No, maybe it was 6-2. It was 6-3 or 6-2, and I ended up winning the game. And I won the game off the back of 3 prize Moonlight Shuriken off of to Morpeko into a damaged Moon, and then finished the game up with an Iron Hands kill onto their Moltres V. After I had softened it up. Yeah, knockout. Knockout, thank you.
I'm
KO.
trying so hard to keep it
so easy, and it's like not calling the discard the graveyard is so tough, and the Lost Zone. Yeah, I'm putting this in exile. No, Lost Zone.
No, Lost Zone.
So what's up? What's up, Tyler and Spoot and everybody in the chat? You guys are awesome. So yeah, like,
quick one.
Mm-hmm.
Is library and deck interchangeable?
I think it's deck. It's deck and Pokemon, because like library fits the magic theme of like, ooh, you're a wizard and you have your book and spells of, you know what I mean? It's in your library.
Yeah. I was curious if that was all right.
They're all different in but I think in Magic, deck and library are more interchangeable. In Pokemon, it's your deck. It's your deck.
So it's Pokemon no library, no graveyard, no exile.
No. I like that. I like that there's different terms. But essentially, yeah. Essentially, I had a great comeback, and that's like what I want to focus on. And like, okay, in any of those games, and like I've had stretches of like 6 wins in a row, and then I had a stretch of like another 4 losses in a row, and it's just like, what happened? And I turned one of the losses against like, I just got blown out by Gardevoir, and then followed up by playing the same opponents because the matchmaking is so good, where I, like, on the back of a Baxcalibur built up to attack, I just decided to kind of take over the game in that regard, which was awesome. So that was cool. Like, it's like we can find ways to play the game, and we can find more ways to do to play it. And like against Roaring Moon, I'd never benched a 2-prizer when they were at 2 prizes until my turn of winning the game, because they just go Moon, boss, KO, you lose, like, or cross switcher, KO, like any 2-prizer I put on the bench. So I just made it to the point where I was always giving myself another turn by mapping, and that's the analytical side of things, and that's the giving myself an opportunity and an out to win, rather than just like kind of blowing myself out by, I'm just gonna bench this Chen Pao so I can like blow something up later. It's like, well, they just easily kill that your 2-prizer and win the game, so don't do that.
Little premature. Don't put that out yet.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what I've been doing. Question for you though: did you see any of these spoilers for the new cards?
I did not. I saw.
I'm gonna send you a link.
Discussion about some of the cards on.
I'm gonna send you a link because you need to take a look at some of the new cards that are going to be coming out, and what's going to be coming out around our rotation. And I think that's something we're going to see some new Pokemon entering the TCG, plus a pretty busted Ace spec, which Ace specs function just like a Radiant Pokemon in that regard, where you can only have one ace spec in your deck, and the current ones the current ones that are released, there's one that is without a doubt the best one, and the other two are more niche and solid options depending on what your deck is looking for. So we'll start with the ace specs real quick, but the first one is the Neo Upper Energy. It is basically kind of like a double turbo energy, but only if it provides one colorless if it's attached to any Pokemon, but if it is a stage 2 Pokemon, it provides any colors of those two. So it has to be in the best deck, but you only get to play one of these, so it feels a little underwhelming in that regard. But it's not bad by any stretch, and I assume as the format goes on, and this will probably be in the standard format for 3 years plus, and we'll see what this type of card. This card could gain incredible value where it allows for a certain stage 2 to be, very, very strong, right? Who knows what they'll print to help make this card really good. So shutting it down is pretty bad. The next one being Master Ball. And I think the way I was looking at this is I would have loved for Master Ball to get a buff compared to what it used to be, because they basically reprinted the old A-Spec Master Ball. And Master Ball is search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Just any Pokemon, no pitching any cards, but Ultra Ball's already around, and being able to use your discard pile as a resource makes Master Ball feel less strong.
I think it's... I don't know if I would say less strong. I think it really depends on the build you're playing it in.
Yeah.
Because I can see Master Ball being way better in certain decks and way worse in others.
Totally. It's going to be more niche.
In Chen Pao, it's clearly less strong.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't want that.
Do you check your connection of that cable for your microphone? You just keep getting a little choppy. I don't know why.
Now?
Yeah, try. Just keep talking. Well,
talking.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
Master Ball, Ultra Ball. Yeah, so in certain deck lists, I feel like it's definitely worse. But in others, I feel like it's definitively better.
Totally.
Like, swapping Master Ball in instead of Nest Ball or Level Ball. Just like instantly better.
But you only get to play one, which is the hard part. So that's the only one you play in the deck. And to me, Master Ball would have been better if it was search your deck for a Pokemon, or search your deck for 2 Pokemon and reveal them and put it into your hand. If it was 2, where it's similar to a Battle VIP Pass, but you only get to play one of them and it's there, like I think that fits the power level of where the decks are at and would allow it for it to compete with the next card we're going to talk about. But yeah, talking about rotation, Pokemon Menace brings it up in the chat. There's a lot more Ancient and Future cards that we'll talk about, which I think that also really helps. It's just going to be like Professor Sada's Vitality gains a lot of value. Some of the new future Pokemon have some potential to have decks built around them where you might have a single prizer that's a future Pokemon that can actually attack for some decent numbers, and you get to make use of the capsules a little bit more with these decks. So I think it's very fun option. So yeah, I think that'll be great. I'm
scared of rotation.
I'm not as much. I know you're gonna be missing Kyogre, but I think I've been focusing on decks that won't change too much come rotation. Garchomp I've been playing without VIP passes anyways, so it does function, but I probably, if I was playing it right, I probably should. But Chen Pao loses Escape Rope and VIP Pass in the current build that I'm running. So cool, I just have to figure out, like, do I play Great Ball? Or do they print another card? And then I put a switch instead of the Escape Rope, and that's fine. We're manually retreating most of our cards anyways, and so it works out okay.
I just don't know what happens to Lost Box in general.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I think most lost variants will um, shift to playing probably the Giratina build for at least the interim until Tord or something else gets figured out. Because I think you just don't have to. You're losing escape rope sucks, but you're already not. You play your switch cards and then you play switches instead. You just lose that kind of pseudo gust type effect where you're forcing your opponent to make a decision and then you can play off of their decision. But speaking of Prime Catcher, this is probably the most insane card that has been printed as an ace spec or as an item card, and it is takes on an effect of an older card called Guzma, which is basically what Cross Switcher does, but does it on a single
Cross Switcher.
Yeah, and is weirdly recoverable by Darkrai V-Star, recoverable by Silene, so you can play it more often than not. I think Silene stock could rise, even though, like, who knows? I don't know if you still play it that much, but making use of this, searchable off of Arven, searchable off of Irida, hittable off of Pokestop. Like, it gets really good. Like the Judge Prime Catcher, the Iono Prime Catcher, Roxanne Prime Catcher, nuts.
Prime Catcher becomes a one of in every deck, I feel like.
Well,
not every, but quite a lot.
So here's the crazy part of this is look at Master Ball, look at Neo Upper Energy. It's like Prime Catcher just absolutely trumps,
obliterates them.
Those cards.
Like, it's not even close. Like, why would you even consider the other ones with Prime Catcher as an option?
Yeah. Well, so from what I've seen from other podcasts and people in discussions of the A specs, we'll probably see anywhere from 13 to maybe 15 different A specs. So we do have a lot more to come out, and obviously this set isn't even fully revealed, so we don't know. But on the current backing of what we have with these three, it's like that one is insane. It is so good. Like, I'm gonna love Pokestopping into a Prime Catcher. I'm gonna love Iridating into a Prime Catcher, and a lot of the decks that I play, it's like that's gonna just be nuts. And I think it allows Chen Pao to make use of Iron Hands even more because I can gust up the Squawk ability or the Luminion or the Manaphy so that I can Greninja the next turn and I can use it. I don't know. It allows from what I feel like it just Prime Catcher is going to be. It's not so broken and so busted, but you're going to notice it in a similar way of VIP Pass where the games where you drew VIP Pass or you draw Prime Catcher, you feel very ahead. Like you have a very strong play in that. A good Prime Catcher play can cripple your opponent's whole setup and whole plan. And if you prize Prime Catcher, it's like, oh, you're just gonna lose. It's like, yeah, but the Counter Catcher, Boss's Orders are all still in the format. Iron Bundle can switch cards, or switch their Pokemon. So it's like, I hear you, but Boss's Orders is still broken in its own right as a card.
It's very good.
So this like absurdity of that it's just going to be game breaking is like, no, I just think it is going to be a very swingy card, which but we've had swingy cards in the format for the longest time through VIP Pass and Metacham V and things like that. So with the new cards rotating, we're losing all those Rapid Strike, we're losing Mew. I think that the game gets a lot better. I'll link this in the chat for everyone, but I do want to talk about a couple cards, and you can take a look at some of the cards if you'd like. But that's kind of like it for me as like the best cards outside of one more. But I will talk about one Pokemon, but I'm going to talk about the Cryptomaniacs Deciphering. It's the new
we're on the same page.
New supporter that I think is very good. In Ralts or Curlia is in the format. Bibarel is in the format. Our boy Brad is in the format, and I'm sure we're going to see more cards that draw cards. There's a new Frigivax coming out in Paldean Fates that for 1 energy it attacks and you draw a card, which you can make use of this. That's like to a lesser extent those attacks that draw cards. Cleffa could also work into this, but Cryptomaniacs.
Plenty of places where that card immediately becomes powerful.
Yeah, search your deck. So this is it used to be a different card. It just now this has the future text. Um, I forgot the name of it, but it is basically a reprint. But you search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle your deck, put those 2 cards on top of your deck in any order. So if you can immediately draw these cards, it is going to grab anything. So it functions similarly to, what Arvin can do, what Irida can do, if you have the draw support set up to grab those cards immediately. Which I kind of like this as like a one of inclusion into something like Chen Pao and stuff like that, because I can put 2 item cards where I need Prime Catcher and Superior Energy Retrieval on the top of my deck. I can't grab 2 item cards with Irida, so this kind of functions in that place of, cool, Brad, thank you, Prime Catcher, do some stuff, and then I draw the 2 cards, and I Superior Energy Retrieval and shove out a bunch of energy. It feels really good. It's just gonna be sometimes where Irida is almost always live. Cryptomaniacs Deciphering is sometimes only going to be sometimes live. It just has, you have to properly set it up. So I'm sure we will see some other cards that help break this as well.
I can see either it going into some current lists and being good as like a 1 or 2 of, and I can see new lists utilizing it by building, I would say around it, but like supporting it with some other portions of the build to make it really good.
Cryptomaniac into Pokestop, double items on top, guaranteed 2 items.
I mean,
it's there.
So many options.
It's there. Many ways. It's very much there.
Okay, side note, just because we're looking at the card still, Explorer's Guidance, Chen Pao.
Nah.
Why?
That
feels so good. Like
putting 2 cards from the 6, or putting 4 cards into the discard is the hard part. If you don't have, you have to up your super rod count. You could, and it depending on what you're hitting, you're going to be left in your Colress decisions where you might have you're not going to have that much. If it was put 3 into your hand and then 3 into the discard, I would maybe get more behind it. But it being like Colress getting you 3 cards is where it's unbelievably strong. I think Explorer's Guidance plays a little bit better with something like it's Lugia's new bad version of Burnett. You know what I mean?
Well, like the trade-off from Colress though is that the ones you're not picking are going to the Lost Zone.
Yeah, I hear you.
Exile. The Lost Zone.
The Lost Zone. Like, I feel
you. To Explorers and toss, I don't know, 2 to 4 energy in the discard, and then super energy retrieval right off of that, like putting yourself straight into a bunch of energy.
Dude, go back to your other mic. You keep cutting out. It's not working, and I don't know if it's you're peaking the mic or not, but it is. You should go back and listen to it. But you can try it again. I can hear you now.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was actually on.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I appreciate the feedback. I feel like the ability to just toss a bunch of cards that are less relevant, including energy, and keep a superior energy or something similar, to go straight into being able to attack for a shit ton seems really strong.
I guess here's the hard part of. You've played Colress Experiment a bunch already.
An absolute ton.
How many times have you looked at 5 cards and been like, I don't know if I want any of these, and also I don't know if I can make a decision down to 3, or it becomes really difficult. I feel like Explorer's Guidance leads itself to being similar in this regard, where it's like, oh cool, I drew 6 items. I can't recur the 4 items I discard. I only get to take 2 of these. And that's where I could see it being bad. I'm looking at the negatives only right now, but that's to just kind of play devil's advocate a little bit.
I totally get the thought process. I think that Colress, in my opinion, has the unique difficulty of decision making that you are choosing 2 of those cards to never be played again.
Yeah.
There is no way to recur them. There is nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
Like if I have 3 Mirage Gates and 2 Energy, whatever I pick, I don't have a recurrence to get. There's no option to recur ever, even if I have the right cards in the deck. Whereas in a deck like, let's say, Goldango or Chen Pao, where I have a lot of recursion, a lot of the pitch decisions become really easy really quickly to me. I'm like, oh, I drew like 2 energy and 4 cards, and those 4 cards, all of them I want. Well, that sucks, but like I'm clearly pitching 2 energy, so now I'm only making a choice between 2 of these 4 cards and I'm gonna have to pick.
Sure.
Whatever. As
I
opposed
guess
to with Colress in that same scenario, I'm looking at 1 less, but I know that I have to keep the energy, because if I pitch energy, I don't know why you play Colress and Chen Pao, but if I pitch energy, I'm just screwed. Like, there's I can't go get them back with Chen Pao or with whatever, with anything.
Well, let me play it this way. If I had to pick in most situations, Explorer's Guidance or a card like Iono, because these would be fighting for a similar spot, I want Iono. I want Iono way more than I want an Explorer's Guidance, because I would rather see a bunch of cards and also have the ability to play a late game Iono against a Lost Zone box deck, to where it's like, oh, you have a ton of cards, sweet, go down to 3 cards because you have 3 prizes left. Like that cripples and has more potential than a card like this does. Where if you go back to the Cryptomaniacs, it's like I feel like that is something that I can lean more into playing, but I just see a guidance of like, if it's fighting for a supporter slot, I think I would just rather it be like just be an Iono or even a Professor's Research. Even.
I think I'd drop Professor's Research for an Explorer's Guidance all day.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
I just feel like the 7 cards you draw. No, but you put 7 into your hand rather than just look at the top 6 and take 2 of them.
Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of validity to getting cards into the discard.
Yeah, I think Explorer's Guidance will be a very strong card in the right deck. I think it is going to be wildly good. And if we get a card that allows you to search out ancient cards, similar, like just search your deck for an ancient card. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, so you can grab Sadas, you can grab Guidance, you can grab whatever you need in that moment. You can grab an ancient Pokemon, and that's where I think that a Guidance will then get really good if we see a card like that. Don't get me wrong, very good.
Where's my reshuffle your library into your deck card?
They had that before. It was called Lysander's Trump card, and it was banned very quickly, from what I understand, because it was I don't know if it was banned very quickly, but it was banned pretty in a decent amount of time, because it takes away a condition of the game of being able to win by decking out. And if you can never deck out because of something like that, it's bad. And I'll try and send you some videos on it, because there's a lot to it that is pretty nutty.
While I understand that thought process, I think of something like Magic that clearly has that capability.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to have that as an issue, where oh, well, we've removed the ability for people to be decked out. No,
Mills
people still run. I mean, Mill's just as prevalent in Pokemon as it is in Magic. It's still a B or C tier deck at all times.
Let me challenge you on this, because this is why I really have liked Pokemon in comparison to card games like Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. Because in Pokemon, 1 second, Spout wants out. Go ahead, dude. In Pokemon, there is a high likelihood you play through 45 plus of your 60 card deck.
Yes.
In most games. So you're always teetering with having to understand that you might deck out in that at any point. you have to be somewhat aware of that. If you take that skill out of it by always being able to shuffle back in and you just keep playing the game, it defeats that sum. And that's part of why I like, because in Magic, I felt like I was always only playing with the top 25 cards of my deck in most games. Maybe a little more, but I was very rarely digging through my deck and seeing everything. It just didn't happen as much, where I think that in Pokemon that is a small added layer of skill that you have to have. You have to be understanding of the cards that are left in your deck and also how many cards you do have left in your deck.
I don't disagree that it is a more prevalent aspect to pay attention to in Pokemon than in Magic, by a solid margin.
Yeah.
I think most of the deck lists, at least in the current meta or since I started playing, don't put themselves in jeopardy of decking themselves out without outside interaction, playing against a mill deck, very often. It is more often than Magic, but I still think it's not that relevant to most decks.
So the resource management then becomes the bigger part. If you have a card that allows you to shuffle everything back in with ace specs and all these other cards, you just constantly don't have to actually manage how many times you play these cards, how many times you do other parts.
You make it a one-off card. What are the
ace specs
cards? You just make it an ace spec, and that's fine.
We'll see. We'll see.
Because then you make it an ace spec that's not retrievable.
That's good, Gotcha.
Or very hard to retrieve. So if once you use it, the rest of your the rest of your discard shuffles into the library, not that card. So you would have to.
It immediately goes to it immediately goes into the lost zone. So you can do that once.
That would be fine.
Yeah, I could see that being maybe doable, but I have a feeling some people will find a way to absolutely break that card, but we'll see.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think the one aspect in Pokemon that I feel like, I don't say I'm always missing, but that I wish there was more of, was not generalized recursion, but outside of energy recursion. I feel like there's not a lot.
There's no item recursion right now. You have Pal Pad, superior energy retrieval, super rod, and energy retrieval, and Silene.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything? Probably. In Darkrai V-Star. I don't. But that's not enough. There's not.
It's all very pigeonholed too, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, if there was an Ultra Ball type of card that was discard 2 cards to retrieve an item card from your graveyard or from your discard. Is that unbelievably broken, or is that good? Is that too much? I don't know.
Yeah, or get a single Pokemon from the graveyard.
Discard. We're doing it. We're doing it to each other.
Oh god, it's so bad. From the discard to your hand instead of Super Rod putting
back
into the deck.
Yeah.
I feel like some cards like that would make a much more interesting gameplay. I miss that aspect. There's so many cool interactions that I could see happening.
Yeah.
What's the one that was it, Lugia? Is that the deck that goes and gets the
Archeops? Yep.
From
Lugia V-Star
to your bench?
Is
that what it is? I love that. I'm sad that I don't see more of that. Is it really annoying when I'm playing against it? 100%.
Totally.
But I love that. I want to see more of that. Give me more ways. I want to see more decks utilizing that and having that as a mechanic that can be utilized. I was a big fan of 2010's Vengevine decks from Magic the Gathering that has a lot of put these cards into the graveyard, bring them back into the active equivalent.
Sure.
And I'm oh man,
I mean, there's a Gengar right now. There's a Gengar that's hanging out. Let me see. This is it.
I'll play a Gengar deck.
Once during it's the Lost Origin. It'll be around for a while. It's once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you can put it to the bench. If you do, put 3 damage counters on it. So it works in decks that Tyranitar or the Doduo deck, where it's and any deck that is like if any of your Pokemon have damage on it, it does more damage. I think that's Zoroark,
Gotcha.
Hisuian Zoroark, where it works, and then it does have a legit attack where you put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So can do 100 damage, but it's like just straight up damage counters, which is has value, but it's not for one. But for one energy to do that.
Yeah.
One energy for 100 damage is up to 100 damage is pretty solid, but definitely not the most insane card I've seen by any means.
Conditional for not a lot of damage.
Yeah, has value, but is what it is. So
yeah,
it's like we have some of that, but I agree. I think it would be very cool to see some more decks make use of the discard pile for Pokemon's sake, not just like for energy sake. Everybody's doing it for energy sake through Flaffies, through superior energy retrievals, super rotting back into Mirage Gates to you know the plethora of things that we've seen.
I mean, how many decks use energy recursion right now? What? Roaring Moon, Miraidon, Chien-Pao,
a Lost Box.
My current Lost Box list.
Lost Tina does too. Everybody's playing.
Like,
Super Rod is probably one of the most prevalent cards we see these days.
Mm-hmm. Like I feel like so many decks utilize the purposely getting energy into the discard to recur at the right time.
Yeah.
Basically, that like give us that for Pokemon or item cards or
something.
Whatever, like something.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a rod that was like that. It's like put one Pokemon. It's like you choose 2. Put a Pokemon, a supporter, a trainer, and an energy card. Put choose 2, one of each of those, and they can't be the same. Mm-hmm. And put those and shuffle those back into your deck, like as like a similar to like a super rod, but you get to choose any. In comment, like you have to choose 2 different ones, but you get to choose 2, and then you get 2 cards back into your deck. So you can be like, I really need another rare candy back in the deck. You put an item card. You put an item card plus a Pokemon back in the deck, or a supporter plus the rare candy back in the deck.
Supporter that says choose 2 cards from your discard. Take 1 at random. It goes to your hand. The other one goes to the lost zone.
Not bad. That's getting crazy.
I mean, that's more of.
Getting one card. Yeah, you're thinking about those storm cards with that of the like choose these cards and like your opponent chooses. Yeah. But you're like at random. I like.
There's so many like so much of those interactions. I feel like as a TCG are so fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like that's such a it's lacking, and it gives you this like weird RNG element of like. Selecting cards from your discard to put back straight into your hand.
Yeah.
But if chosen well, if you select your cards from discard well, then it doesn't matter.
Totally.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, here, let's.
2 win conditions into your options, and you pull one of those 2 win conditions. Yay.
I'm gonna add a source real quick. Window capture. I'm going to showcase a couple of these cards right now because I feel like these are perfect options. Let's go here and just move this down. A little bit more. Oh, yeah. All right, so
I'm listening, and I'll be back in uno momento.
You're good. So essentially, like, we are seeing a lot of these cards kind of come out and just be super dope and very fun to play. So yeah, let's see. Bam. That works great. It fits. So essentially, like, looking at some of the cards that are coming out, we have a lot of really cool options. I think decks are going to get a little bit wild. I think that decks are less likely to be more streamlined as a single color, we're going to see a lot of different cards being able to be played. Iron Leaves EX comes out as a pretty good Charizard counter, but it's only more of a tech card. It helps kill Roaring Moon pretty easily. If you have 3 energy on the board, you play this to the bench, takes all the energy you want and put it into the active, immediately KO for 180, but it can't attack the next turn. So it's really if you're playing grass energy and you have 2 of them in play at any point, you can easily KO a Charizard, which I think is dope. The next card I think that is actually good, and I think then we go into a list of cards that aren't very good, but we won't talk about those, is Gouging Fire. Kind of functions as a fire version of Roaring Moon, but it just attacks for 260 straight up, for 3 energy instead of the insta KO, but then you have to find a way for it to leave the active spot, but you can play Switch Cart with this and then get it back into the active.
Those together. Let me play Iron Leaves into Gouging Fire as a deck.
That'd be sweet. Because then you take the energy, but then you need some different color energies to make it work. But I'm going to pull up another card. Iron Crown is pretty good. It's definitely worth looking into. The rest of them are meh.
You play it with some fancy energies. What's the one that gives you
Luminous?
Oh,
yeah. That's only for stage 2s. Is the Neo Upper Energy is only for stage 2s.
That's the new one, but isn't there another one?
There's Reversal and Luminous. Luminous is only 1.
Luminous is 1, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could play either of those or both of those, because it says any energy, not any basic energy. You can move any number of energy from your bench Pokemon to this Pokemon.
Yeah, but only 1 Luminous Energy can be attached at a time, so it needs to be in but it's in a toolbox deck. So if you're playing Sada's Vitality and everything, and you have ways to move the energy around, it'll be super, super good.
I can see it being like a weird. I could see there being a list that runs this similar to like a weird Mew Genesect deck or a Iron Valiant type list where you're like weirdly swapping stuff out and in. It's not necessarily working. I could see it working.
I have been in the think tank for a Garchomp toolbox deck. Ooh. Making use of Koraidon EX, the new one that has for fire fighting does 280 damage straight up, but does 60 damage to itself. Pretty sick.
Okay.
And for 2 colorless energy, you can do 20 damage and 10 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So it can hit decently hard, which is 280 straight up is awesome on a 230 base Pokemon that can be accelerated by Sada's Vitality, and you can accelerate easily 2 fighting energy through a Garchomp attack and softening stuff up, and having a big beater that is easy to pivot around. Pivot. But I think that the deck could really work. Maybe if you don't go for that, you play Garchomp with Iron Hands and Raging Bolt EX, where you now have your accelerating energy through Garchomp, and Raging Bolt does 70 damage, and you discard a bunch of basic energy from your Pokemon, and it does 70, similar to Chen Pao, but does 70 per energy discarded this way. And Raging Bolt, 240 HP, super solid, only takes a lightning energy and a fighting energy to do that attack. You can discard a bunch of the energies, get a Garchomp into the active, then load up to maybe like an Iron Hands to take out a single prizer or something that's been softened up by your Garchomp. It's like, does that become a play? I could see it working, but like, could you play both of these? I don't know. Like, that's probably way too greedy. But they're being stage 1, them being basic Pokemon, Koraidon and Raging Bolt being basics, I think is very heavily favored. We're getting to that big basic concept of there's a lot of really good cards that are just out the gate. Once they get powered up, and they can be pretty easily powered up, they just smack. like Gouging Fire does for 260, Koraidon EX for 280 for 3 energy. It's like, that's a lot. 4 energy and Raging Bolt is hitting for 280. 4 energy on the board anywhere. That's nuts. Did you freeze?
Did I?
Yeah. Yep, here he comes.
Oh, I might have just messed everything up.
You're back. It's all good.
Okay.
You were staring intently at me. I was like, dang, this guy's really in it.
Really? I'm so focused right now.
Yes, you could, Natatot, you could use jet energy on the gouging or onto a bench to get gouging fire out of the active, which is awesome. You put that on a single retreat Pokemon, retreat it after it goes up into the active, and then come back into the gouging fire and hit for 260 again, back-to-back turns. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, I think again, looking at these cards, I think this is a very small sample size of what we're seeing. We're not going to see too much when it comes to Paldean Fates, because a lot of the cards are decent. The Charmeleon is okay at best. I think the new Frigibax is going to be played some. I think it'll still be a singleton over the current 70 HP Frigibax. Iron Wing, United Wings has a chance to have another card that plays, but yeah, it's just like I feel like our next set that is coming out at the end of this month is going to be okay, not awesome, but decent. But then the following set, especially because it is rotation, I think is just going to be absolutely nutty. Oh, I forgot about Crisis Shot coming out. You've seen that one, right? That's the one that Cramorant can use. Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah, dude. I still like
Wild,
that.
man.
That with Radiant Charizard in a last known deck is kind of nuts. Because it being able to have multiple Pokemon, and especially if you play only single prizers, it becomes difficult to. It can be activated very easily. So that's very cool. So I think that's the cool part. So I think here maybe our next episode we look to do a discussion about here's a little homework for us. We both bring a wild idea or brew to the table. Whether you brew like a new Lost Zone, I'll brew my Garchomp toolbox or something like that, and we kind of come up with something different. Something weird and talk about it. Like maybe it's another a new stall deck or something like that you want to do. Whatever you're feeling, go for it, and hopefully by then, let's hope that Portland gives us a couple more spoilers for the upcoming set, which I doubt it will. It was only with sick. I'm on the wrong page. Just showing off our analytics. My bad. Yeah, I think that could do a lot of fun. I didn't realize I was doing that. I was going back to look at the chat. Oh my god, killing the podcast game. I'm a terrible media person behind because ADHD kicks in. Either way, we have homework for next week where we will do that. I think that there's again just a ton of really cool cards on the way. We'll have some at the end of the month, which will be nice. I don't think anything is overly meta-defining. Crisis Shot is just something people need to be aware of, similar to a TM Devolution. I don't think Charmeleon breaks Charizard any more than it already is pretty broken.
Agreed.
The Frigibax doesn't do much. I think Paldean Fates is going to be much more centered around gimme. Gimme
more.
Gimme SIR Iono, please. Come on. Is it Secret Rares? Yeah, where's he at? Where's she at? Where's that gorgeous lady at? Bam! Right there. And there's a new Penny coming out, so the Snorlax gets to do some fun stuff. We get some cooler energies coming out.
Maybe that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'm just gonna swap to Snorlax once we have rotation.
So I think Snorlax actually doesn't survive rotation very well.
No, I haven't looked at. I honestly don't know what rotates until people tell me.
It's just look at the E cards, but it's like I think it loses a handful of its like stronger supporters.
Okay.
But some of its disruptive supporters like Sydney and a couple other cards. But it still keeps Snorlax. It still keeps what else does it keep? Let me actually pull that up. Let's look. Snorlax stall. Just a quick look. Loses. Misfortune Sisters stick around. That's good. Erica's Invitation. Losing Avery kind of sucks. Sydney's gone. Peonia later. It keeps all of its Pokemon. That's also good. There was something else that I thought was like, yeah, this is going to hurt the deck a lot. Echoing Horn going away does hurt it a decent amount. You're frozen again.
Oh.
I think that's those are the main ones. It's like losing Peonia, Sydney, Misfortune Sister stick around. Yeah, Peonia, Sydney, Avery, and Echoing Horn. It's like, cool. I no longer have to worry about Echoing Horn. Cool. I'm going to discard all of my Pokemon to Ultra Balls and Superior Energy Retrievals, and they can live in the discard pile.
Yeah.
And now you can't do anything. And it's like, I will just attack with what attacker I can get set up and play the game that way. And that, I think, is where Snorlax Stall will falter a little bit. Because I do think the threat of an Echoing Horn is really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely prevalent.
It's like, yeah, because I feel like every time I played against Snorlax, I've had to be so like I have to get these cards out of the discard. So yeah, It'll still be around. It'll still have to be respected, but I think it does go down some in value. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I feel like most of the other decks are going to be solid. Nothing's going to be overly broken. I mean, I actually am kind of happy to see Medicham V, the whole Inteleon Urshifu stuff kind of go. Mainly, I'm excited to see Mew Genesect go because that's the type of deck whenever it just goes off, you're just like, what? How is this real? You drew 15 cards this turn. What is happening? I just, not the biggest fan. But there are worse things.
I will say every time I have lost to it, I'm like, God dang it, this deck is annoying.
Yeah, for sure. It's
strong, but then you just drop a Spirit Tomb and it's dead.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, I guess looking back at it, we have some homework to do, which I think will be fun. We'll brew off of these. I do think that we'll see ancient ramping type of stuff through Sada's Vitality gaining value, where you're going to see probably a colorful Professor Sada's energy switch type of deck that, can make use of Roaring Moon and Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt, where it has all these different energies that it's playing and attacks on 3 different levels, which I think could be really, really fun. Definitely excited. So, cool. Thanks for chatting today, and we'll see everybody next week for Wednesday. Saturday Night Pokemon this weekend. Make sure
registration is open. You can currently register and set your deck list, so
make
sure to get in there.
Also, join the Elite Four Trainer Academy if you would like. We are currently doing our best to just grow Pokemon and talk about Pokemon. We have a lot of people who are super hyped on the game and putting out awesome content. Rainbow Smog is going to be streaming some. I'm going to be streaming some. Pokemon Menace, one of our real good homies, putting out amazing content constantly. So expect to see a lot of good stuff. Perfect.
Tell your friends. Tell your relatives.
Yeah.
Tell your relatives
share it around.
Pokemon. Tell them to come join the Discord. Tell them to come watch this. Growth means more friends, and more friends means more people to play with, and more people to play with means more opponents to crush.
There you go. Let's go.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Stay awesome, be safe, make good decisions, and have a great